Hi guys, I'm Madison Mary and welcome back to my channel. Today I have my best books of 2019 for you. So for 2019 I have picked 10 books to talk to you guys about. This was really hard. There are actually a lot of amazing books that I could have put on this list, but for the sake of time I picked 10. So without further ado, let me get into the 10 books. So I'm going to start off with my adult fantasies, first of which are the Nevernight Chronicles. So I decided to put the Nevernight Chronicles together as one spot on this list because I read them all this year. If you don't know what the Nevernight Chronicles are about, it follows ɪṛ, who as a child watched her father get executed and her mother and younger brother imprisoned. As a result, she then trained with a man to become an assassin until she was of the age to be sent to the Red Church. The Red Church is basically this secret assassin school, and by joining it, she plans to become a blade and then finally enact revenge upon the people who killed her family. I absolutely adored this series. It had so many twists and turns. Jay Kristoff is a phenomenal author. I cannot get over the amount of times he just made me question what was happening, how everything was going to end, and who doesn't love assassins? Jay Kristoff also just doesn't really shy away from blood, gore, sex, violence, really crass humor. I love really crass humor, which is why I loved it. I found myself always laughing out loud because his kind of humor is my kind of humor. The next adult fantasy that I want to talk to you guys about is Ninth House by liko. Ninth House follows Alex Stern, and she is the only survivor of a triple homicide. And when she's in the hospital recovering, this man comes up to her and provides her with an opportunity to study at Yale for free. The only catch is that she joins the ɪṛsᴛᴏ Society, and the ɪṛsᴛᴏ Society is this secret society that looks after all the other secret societies of Yale and kind of makes sure they all keep in line. It really delves into, I want to say, dark magic. It is there are a lot of parts to this, and it can be hard to kind of understand how each of the societies work because they all use different kinds of magic. Like this book starts off with this scene where they are basically performing an operation on a man to like read his intestines to see how the stock market will be for the new financial quarter. Like, it's messed up stuff. Like, it's a really messed up book. Like, the things that happen are crazy, but it really takes a look on society and classism and what it means to be privileged in America, especially with, you know, the Ivy League schools. Alex Stern is the epitome of an anti-hero, in my opinion. And the things she does aren't good things, but she does it for the right reasons. She's just not the best way to go about them. And she is a survivor at her core, and I really respect her character. We also have Darlington in it, who is Alex's mentor, and he is my favorite human being, fictionally. I absolutely adore Darlington, and I would lay down my life for him because he is just that amazing. So to move on to my YA fantasies, I'm going to start off with the book that no one should be surprised about, and that is A Merciful Query by Margaret Owen. So we follow Fi, who is part of the crow case, and this case is the lowest of the low. There are all different bird cases, like, you know, the swans and the hawks and the pigeons, and, you know, the best of the best is the phoenix case. But no, the crow case sucks, and they are pretty much just tasked with taking plague victims and, you know, disposing of the bodies so not everyone else gets sick. And one day they are at the castle and they remove 2 bodies, not really thinking much of it, and turns out that it's the crown prince and his bodyguard, and they faked their deaths to escape the castle because the queen is currently trying to kill the crown prince so that she can take over the kingdom. And so the crown prince and his bodyguard have left in order to try and find allies in the west, but they require the help of the crows to get there. And so they make a bargain with the crows, and Fi, Jasmia, and Tavern set off. Oh, I love this novel. I just loved everything about it. The way that the case worked, the magic system, the use of how crow witches use teeth in order to then invoke the powers of other cases. So because Fi is a crow witch, if she has like a phoenix tooth, she can then have the power of fire. If she has, I think it's a pigeon tooth, she then has luck. And it's really awesome. I also love the way that all of our characters kind of mesh, and just this world in general. I'm so excited for the next book that comes out in 2020, and it is called The Faithless Hawk, and The next YA fantasy is There Will Come a Darkness by Katie Rose Poole. So in this world, the 7 prophets kind of looked after the world, but they disappeared 100 years ago, leaving a final prophecy, and that was the fact that the final prophet would be born soon, and this prophet would either be the savior or the damnation of their world. So we follow 5 different perspectives. Opheria, who is known as the Pale Hand, and she is a notorious killer of the governmentally, religiously corrupt. Beru, who is Opheria's younger dying sister. Anton, who is a boy desperately trying to run away from his past. Hassan, who is the crown prince of Herat, which is the kingdom that has just been taken over by the Witness. And then we follow Jude, who is the keeper of the lost word, and he is part of this clan that used to follow the prophets, and they are the last of their kind, and he is kind of tasked with, he knows the prophecy that has been left, and he is kind of charged with finding a way to fulfill it. I really love this book. I think that all of our characters are just so unique, and you never know what they were going to do. Like, you couldn't tell if they were inherently good or evil. You didn't know really who to trust. You didn't know how this prophecy was going to work out. Like, you know, because you know how prophecies are. They say one thing and they mean like a completely different thing. I just love the idea of how this world was set up and how these characters all interconnected in their lives and how they were all somehow part of the prophecy, but also like in different ways than you would ever have expected. Oh my god, the LGBTQ representation in this. There is a couple that I absolutely adore and ship, and just really hope becomes a thing in the second book, because they would be so adorable together. Okay, so the next young adult fantasy I have to talk to you guys about is Crown of Coral and Pearl by Mara Rothford. In this world we have the island kingdom of Verenia, which is known for like their beautiful women and these beautiful magical pink pearls that grow in the oysters in their waters. And then we also have the mainland kingdom of Alara, which is very military heavy. It's like one of the wealthiest, powerfulest kingdoms. And whenever a crown prince is about to become king, he gets his queen from the island kingdom of Verenia. So we follow Noor and Zadie, and they are twin sisters, and when they were growing up they were equally as beautiful and just, they were obvious marriage prospects. However, there was an accident and Noor actually got a cut on her cheek, and because of that she was ruled out as a marriage prospect pretty much because she was scarred, damaged goods, you know, that kind of thing. However, when Zadie is chosen as the marriage prospect, something happens and Noor ends up having to go in her place. However, when Noor gets to Alara, she finds out that it's not as great as she thought it was going to be, and that the crown prince is really mean, and she ends up kind of falling for his half brother. It has a lot to do with politics. I think that it really spoke a lot to how society views beauty and how it looks when we value it above all else, especially, and the pressure that it ends up putting on our people. I also just loved Noor as a main character because she was so headstrong and powerful, and I really loved her. I also just love Mara Rothford's writing. It was such a beautiful world that she created, and I'm so excited for the sequel to come out in 2020. The next YA fantasy I'm talking to you guys about is Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. Wow, this was my favorite in the Folk of the Air trilogy so easily. I absolutely adored it. I thought that it was the perfect conclusion. It blew me away. It had everything in it that I ever could have possibly wanted. If you don't know what the Folk of the Air series is about, it starts off with the Cruel Prince, that's book 1. Jude has her twin sister Taryn, as well as her half sister Vivi. And when they are children, this fairy general named Maddox comes back, brutally massacres the mum and dad, and takes all 3 of the children to Fairy because he decides that he wants Vivi. So Jude has had to grow up as a mortal in Fey Land. When the book takes place, Jude decides that she is sick and tired of being treated as a weak mortal and decides to take matters into her own hands. The next book that is one of my favorites of 2019 is Shadowfrost by Coco Ma. I love this book. I actually just finished beta reading the sequel of it, which I equally loved as much, and I'm so excited for everyone else to finally get to that. Shadowfrost is about the kingdom of Ixaria, and there is a shadow demon running rampant in the forest, killing people. And the Queen of Ixaria has been sending out soldiers to try and defeat this shadow demon, and the soldiers never come back. When the Crown Princess Astrid is presented with the opportunity to take down this monster, she jumps at it in order to not only protect her kingdom, but also to prove herself to her mother. However, despite her growing magic, she cannot face this demon alone. She is joined by her royal guardian, Orion, the captain of her guard, Idric, her best friend, Luna, and 2 emissaries from a neighboring kingdom. Oh my god, I absolutely love this series. It has everything I could ever want. It is full of witty banter between all of our cast. It is full of romance, including a male-male romance is in it. There is elemental magic, and you guys know elemental magic is like my thing. If there is ever a book with elemental magic, I will read it. I just absolutely love the way that she writes elemental magic, and what I love the most about this series is just the way that she creates her cast of characters and the way that they grow over the first book, and then how they grow even further in the second book. Like, none of our characters are ever stagnant, and they're all so interesting, and the way they all work together, and these seeds that Coco plants from the very beginning of the book that then reveal themselves as the book goes on. It's so interesting and fascinating. When I started reading it, I knew I was going to really enjoy it, but I did not expect to love it as much as I did, and that is why I really, really want to recommend it to you guys, because I fell in love with it. The next book I've talked to you guys about is the one that I read most recently. I read it in December, and that is Queen Takes Knights. This is a paranormal romance. It's kind of vampire erotica with plot, if I'm being honest, but you know, nothing wrong with that. So we follow Shara, and she has been on the run for the last 5 years after her mother and father were brutally murdered by monsters. And one night, you know, her time's running out, luck's running out, everything, she's been on the run for too long, the monsters have caught up to her, and she's about to die, okay? And then out of the forest, these two dudes just come running, and they're like, "My queen!" And she's like, "You're who?" And they kill all the monsters, and she just stands there and is like... And these guys end up telling Shara that she is the last descendant of the goddess Ɪṛis, one of the most powerful vampire bloodlines, and that means that she is actually a vampire queen. There are all different vampire queens in this world, but she is one of the most powerful ones. And these two men are also vampires, but they are her bloods. They are her sworn protectors, pretty much her knights. This book is about Shara kind of coming into her powers, understanding what this means for her, and now she is not only being hunted by these monsters that want her blood, but she's also being kind of hunted by these other queens that want her power. It's a really awesome series. I love the romance in it. It's vampire erotica, so it's very bloody sex, but it's great. For my favorite romance this year, I'm going with Well Met by Jen DeLuca. We follow Emily, who has just returned back to her hometown because her older sister got into a car accident. So she is looking after her older sister as well as her niece. Her niece wants to join the Ren Fair for the summer. So Emily takes her to go sign up, and then finds out that if a child is under the age of under the age of 16, they need like a parent chaperone to sign up as well. So Emily is like, fine, I'll sign up. I'll be a wench. And she joins the Ren Fair as a wench, but she instantly butts head with the head of the Ren Fair, and that is Simon. And so Emily and Simon are constantly fighting. However, when they get to the Ren Fair, their Ren Fair personas end up really hitting it off and have this Ren Fair romance. So it's about this idea of them having a romance while they're working, and then absolutely hating each other when they're not working, and then how those two lives end up blending into each other. And it was just so much fun. It made me realize how much I actually want to go to a Ren Fair and how cool that would be. I was just like, I found this whole new genre that I never even knew about, that I never knew I would ever love, and now I absolutely love it. And whenever a book is like Renaissance Fair, medieval, I'm like, yes, please give it to me. And I'm really excited because there is going to be another book set in this setting, following a different character, coming out at the end of this year, I think in September, so I'm really excited to see how that one goes. The last book I've talked to you guys about is Lies You Never Told Me. Wow, this book took me by such surprise, and honestly it made it onto this book because I read this I think in March of this year, and it still sticks with me. I constantly think about this book, honestly, and for a book to have that much of an impact, it had to be on this list. So this book follows two parallel timelines. Elise, who is living in Portland, Oregon, and she has to look after her oxy-addicted mother and is tasked with paying the bills so that they don't get evicted. When the new drama teacher ends up casting Elise instead of her best friend for the lead role in Romeo and Juliet, she is really taken by surprise, but really excited to have this kind of home away from home where she can escape. However, as Mr. Hunter begins working with Elise on her lines outside of regular times, the two of them start to get a lot closer and a forbidden romance begins to bloom. But at the same time, in Austin, Texas, we are following Gabe, who has been in a relationship with the most popular mean girl in school, Sasha, for 3 years. When the book starts off, Gabe is kind of at the end of his rope. He is being suffocated by Sasha and the relationship that they have, that he finally decides to break up with her. However, Sasha begins to spiral. As Gabe starts to receive anonymous threats and dangerous rumors start taking place, Gabe realizes that Sasha is not ready to let go and that she is willing to use any means necessary to get him back. I can't even get over how much this book shocked me. Like, I didn't think I was going to like this book because teacher-student romances really throw me off, but this was done in a way to show you, because like the whole point of this book is like, it ain't a good romance. It's not supposed to be a good romance, and how a teacher can manipulate a student if he so wants to. And it just, like, dudes, this book, like, it blew me out of my mind. Like, the way that the reveal that happens, like, out of every mystery thriller I read this year, this one, the plot twist, did not see coming. Did not see it coming at all, did not see it coming. So I had to highly recommend this one to you. But yeah, that is all. If you guys did read any of these, let me know down below, or what your best book of 2019 was. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit the like button down below if you want to see more of me. Please subscribe to my channel, and until next time, thanks a bunch guys. Bye!